So, welcome to ethics. We're going to be starting right now. We should say hi to Big B. I'm going to send this to him. Say hi, Mr. Virtual.
Hi, Mr. Virtual.
Okay, so first lesson, I was planning to do a timeline, but that's like kind of boring as, and I don't want you guys to fall asleep. So we're going to do a tier list. We're going to do a philosopher's tier list. Let's have 3 tiers. Okay, S tier. So the ones that we put in S tier, I want you guys, like, these are the ones that we have to hit, every single one of them during Ethics Olympia. I want you guys to like just spam these. Okay, like, not come. It's the come tier. Okay, like just pull one up, and then the market's going, oh, fuck yeah, you know, like, so. Does anybody remember any philosophers from last year? Anyone? Kant? Okay, good. We're starting with the GOAT. Okay, so Kant. He goes under Deontology, right? Oh my god, let me tell you about Kant. Yeah?
I have another philosopher.
Go.
You continue that. You first continue.
No. Your one might be better to start with.
Really? I have Robert.
Never mind. Is anybody thinking of John Locke?
John.
Yes, sir. Oh, Locke. Hood classic. John Locke. So let's actually start with Locke, because like Kant is really fucking complicated. Okay, so Locke, he invented something called human rights. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Anyways, let me tell you about it. He was a part of a tradition of philosophers called contractarians. And what contractarians say is basically they say societies form in the beginning, like from the Stone Age, societies form because a bunch of people want to come together and they want to better their chances of survival. Right? They want to better their chances of survival, so they come together and they give each other rules. Right? We're going to stop each other from killing each other, and then we're going to trade and do all this shit, and they sign a social contract. That's what contractarianism is. There's a few other philosophers in contractarianism who are super important, like S-tier characters, but first we start with John Locke. Okay? So, Locke says, the most important things that we signed up to society for is to protect our rights. And the 3 rights that he says we all have is life, liberty, and property. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, property is like capitalism. He also invented capitalism, you know, and so the US Constitution is actually based off of this guy. You know, the US Constitution is like, everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But what they really mean is capitalism, right? And then, so, his model of ethics is called Libertarianism. And it states that society, every single society around the world formed because we want to protect our rights. And so rights should be at the top of the ethics tier of the things that we care about. Okay, so even if, you know, the outcome might be that a bunch of people die and society is worse off overall, we need to care about rights, and we can never violate these rights. Right, so what does he mean by life? The right to life is basically nobody can harm you. You know, nobody can just punch you in the face for no reason. That would be kind of weird. But then he also says liberty. You have the right to liberty. You can do anything you want. The government should not be stopping you from doing anything, except unless it violates someone else's rights to life. So this is saying that like my right to swing my fist stops at your nose. Right? So like I can do whatever I like. He says, like, you know, the government shouldn't have mandates on seatbelts because that would be cringe. That would be violating my right to liberty. You know? So he was actually not a big fan of having government at all. But you know, you do need to have government to administrate these things. Okay. So, anyways, rights are the most important things. That's what he says. The second contractarian philosopher. Hang on, we need to rank him. Locke, absolute Chad. I think he's definitely S tier. Okay.
The come tier?
The come tier. You need to have him in basically every single ethical model. So, any questions? Yeah. So basically, let's give me like any question and we can apply him. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to apply him.
Yeah. Okay. Give me any questions. Should we wear uniforms in school? Should schools have uniforms? Locke would say no, because that violates every child's right to liberty. and the liberty to wear whatever they want. You know, children shouldn't even have to go to school if they don't want to. That would be cringe. Even if an education would benefit them, a parent cannot force a child, cannot coerce a child to do anything. No coercion. Anyways, that's Locke. He's the first of the contractarians. Remember, contractarian is like we form societies because of this. He says it's to protect our rights. The second one is called Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes, the second contractarian philosopher, he invented something called Authoritarianism, which is now, spread a lot during the 19th and 20th century, especially with the two most popular examples are the USSR and the Nazi Germany. So he says we form societies at the start because we value our safety. We don't care about rights or whatever. Safety is the most important thing. And he says this because he grew up during the English Civil War. And then his family basically almost got killed during the English Civil War. He's like, nah, I'm not having any of this. And then he says the best form of society is one that's stable, super, super stable, and no rebellion can ever happen under it. Like if a rebellion happens, I might die. Nah, no rebellions. So he says his ideal form of government is called the Leviathan theory. This pen's running out.
One day.
Ooh, thank you. Anyway, the Leviathan theory says we should have a undivided, super powerful, universal government that, like, if any rebellion comes up, we just stamp them out, and then they don't exist anymore, right? We can, of course, improve our government by, voting and stuff like that, but we can have a government that's strong enough to maintain why we built the society in the first place, which is safety. Right? He cares about safety the most. And having the laws enforced, basically. Okay, so that's Hobbes' authoritarianism. Of course, this is like super simplified. We're gonna go through all of them in a lot more detail later. Yes?
Wouldn't Hobbes' theory of like authoritarianism go against some of Locke's theories of like liberty?
Of course. They're both under contractarianism, but they want different ends. Locke wants rights. Hobbes wants safety. They want different things. And so yeah, they are very much against each other. And then the third is super. Oh wait, Franklin.
Commentator.
Hobbes. You won't have him in every single case. So I would, but he's still really good. I think he goes in A.
I think S for safety.
S for safety. Nah, it's calm.
Don't listen to him. He's just, yeah.
You can have a C tier.
C tier. Who's in C tier? Jordan Peterson. Anyways, I don't think anyone deserves to be in C tier except for
Simone de Beauvoir.
Simone de Beauvoir. Okay.
My favorite.
I'm just kidding. Okay. Third contractarian philosopher is called Rousseau. I have no idea how to pronounce his name. He's French. He invented something called egalitarianism, or equality, basically. He started the equality doctrine, and people who followed him are like people like John Rawls, who we talked about last time. So basically, he says we want society because we want to ensure equality. So you see, he wants equality, Locke wants rights, and Hobbes wants safety, and these things all very much go against each other. Rousseau says, in the state of nature, so before we had societies, they all called the period of time before we had societies the state of nature, where we were savages and we killed each other. Right? He said, in the state of nature, we were all equal. We didn't have classes and ranking. And he said, the society that we are in now it takes out all of our sins. It makes all our sins come out. Like lust and like greed. Those things didn't exist back in nature, and he said we should follow the state of nature because that's the way God made us. Okay, a lot of his shit is based on Christian arguments, and that's why we don't really use him. So honestly, he probably goes in B tier. Because a lot of his arguments go from Christianity, but the people who followed him, one of the philosophers is called John Rawls, and he gives a super, super good argument for equality. Oh no, we don't even have equality up here. No! Oh! Where's the other thing? Rawls. This guy is the one you want to go to when you're arguing any form of equality. He has this thought experiment, this argument, and it's called the veil of ignorance. And he says, suppose everybody in society joins together to make a decision, right? But instead of remembering all your social status and stuff, you forget everything. You forget everything about yourself. You're placed under a veil of ignorance, where you don't remember your social status or anything. So, under these conditions, what kind of society would we create and decide to create, right? Yeah, basically a gotcha system. So how do we minimize the gotcha aspect? Yeah. And then he says we should just have some sort of baseline equality, like minimum wage. A lot of minimum wage arguments come from him. And we need to ensure that people will not be so not well off or so hated against that they're gonna basically struggle to survive. Basically, everybody deserves to live, and everybody deserves these baseline rights, and that's what makes them equal, right? At least to some extent. Of course, some people can work later to become unequal, but we need to have a baseline of equality. And yeah, so the veil of ignorance. Because if you guys think about it, right, having your status at birth is really a lottery, right? It's really a lottery being born into like a peasant or versus being born into a king's house. And so nobody should actually benefit from a lottery, the natural lottery of birth, because it's not up to you.
Just reroll.
Huh?
Just reroll.
Yeah, exactly. You can't reroll, exactly. So like, we should minimize chance in our status, basically is what he says. Okay. Any other suggestions? Oh, rank Rawls. Any argument with equality, we gotta have Rawls. He's S tier, definitely S tier. Okay. So, let's hit the big one. Utilitarianism. All right. I think the pen ran out. Like, the thing's not coming up anymore. Anyways, utilitarianism. Does anybody remember their names? Utilitarian philosophers? Singer. Okay, yes, Singer. Yes, but before we look at Singer, we gotta look at Bentham.
Oh, Jeremy Bentham.
Can you remember something?
Jeremy Bentham. Okay. Jeremy Bentham came up, okay, he didn't come up with it, Mill came up with it, but he developed a theory called utilitarianism, and a utilitarianism basically says we should do whatever outcome, we should do whatever action results in the most happiness for the most people. So like, this is a pretty straightforward theory. Like, it's basically debating. If this path creates a better outcome, then we do this path, right? Even if we have to violate human rights, even if we have to kill people to get the best outcome, we do it. You guys see how a lot of philosophers don't actually agree with this? For example, Locke, he goes like, yeah, if we have to kill people, that's violating the rights to life. We can't do that. But he says, I don't give a fuck. Right? Like, he does not give a fuck. He's like, you just kill people, whatever. Get the best outcome.
Yeah, let's just stop doing war.
Okay, so how do we measure the best outcome? He says we measure the best outcome by happiness, the total happiness in the population.
If people aren't happy,
Yeah.
How long is it gonna take?
Okay. Bentham, definitely, like, you can't have an ethical debate without utilitarianism. He's undoubtedly S tier. Like, I don't even know if you can have, like, can you debate without utilitarianism? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Yeah. In principal debates, you still have to debate utilitarianism because it's so prominent. If you leave it out, you're basically stupid. Right? Okay, now another utilitarian philosopher who came way after Bentham, who I think died recently, is Singer still alive? Singer might be still alive. His name's Peter Singer.
Cringiest person ever.
Really? Okay, yeah. Do you guys remember the shallow puddle argument? Yeah, it's a shallow puddle argument. He says, we need to do whatever it takes to benefit the most people. Whatever it takes. So like, I should donate all of my property. I should donate every single cent to Africa so that these African kids can have better lives. You know? And the argument that he uses is basically, imagine you see a child drowning in a pond. He's drowning, he's like dying. And then you see it, you can save him, but it would get your pants wet. You know, that would be the cost that it exacts on you. So you just walk by because it's too much. It's too much for you. And then you go, yeah, you know, and then you knock on someone's door and you go, yo, what's up? Yeah, so interesting story. I just saw a child drown. I didn't save him. You know, you would be a monster. You would be an irredeemable monster. Like, so basically, what he says is, whatever the cost is, we need to save people. We need to do whatever we can to improve the lives of other people. And that's a really, really strict branch of utilitarianism called effective altruism. You guys know what altruism means? Yeah, everyone knows what altruism means. It's like doing things for the benefit of other people. And then effective is like just doing it effectively. Everybody has to do it. Anyways, these are the two main utilitarian models that we can use. I think Peter, yeah, he goes in A.
No, Peter,
No,
what are you
because he's
doing?
really useful. It's about usefulness. It's not about how good they are. And plus, he's not bad. Okay, let's move on to the big dog. Hopefully, I have time to cover Kant. Okay, Kant is arguably the most important philosopher ever. Like, you know,
Yo, shut up!
okay, so he invented something called Deontology. Does anybody remember Deontology? It's saying we judge the motivations, not the consequences or whatever. But really, he says every moral action can be argued back to this one basic principle, and he calls it the categorical imperative. Okay, like we learned all this last year, but why? Why does he think this is a universal thing? You know, he says there's a universal way of making ethics, right? How come it's universal? So this is a really important concept, and it's called the transcendental aesthetic. Now this word probably doesn't make sense right now, okay? His main philosophy is called transcendental idealism. Or, you know, if you want to speak in English, you can call it transcendental idealism, because that's the fucking name, you know, like, okay, so this concept, the transcendental aesthetics, so basically imagine this, right? You guys know, have you guys all taken physics? You guys know the electromagnetic spectrum,
Yes.
right? We can only see like not even 1% of that spectrum. Like our visible eyes, we can't even see like a fraction of that spectrum, right? So like there's so many things in the objective reality that we can't observe as human beings, and those are our transcendental limits. Those are our limits as human beings, right? So like imagine a chocolate, you know those like Toblerone like triangle chocolates, you know those? Yeah. So like imagine one of those like right here, right? Let's put on our human glasses, like our human visual limitations, and then we look at this Toblerone and we're like, yeah, that's a chocolate, right? And then we take off these glasses, and it just all comes blasting at you, you know? Like all the other 100% of the electromagnetic radiation, it just comes to you like, what the fuck is this? You know? And then like you can't tell what it is, you know? Without your human glasses, this is not a chocolate bar. This is a blob of just like iridescent, like everything. You know, you can't tell what a thing is in itself if you don't have a filter, like human eyes. If you don't filter it out, you can't tell what anything is. And so things can change depending on the subject's viewing them. So the subject is the most important for Kant. Do you guys get it? Like the human glasses? Like without the glasses, it's just a blob of indeterminate substance. Like you don't know what it is, and you put on these glasses, yeah, it's chocolate. Right? So he says, and he tries to solve this problem called the species conundrum. And if you guys take biology, you guys have heard of the species conundrum, right? Okay, so it's like how do we define a human, basically? And then you know we might say human DNA. Okay, well like cancer cells also have human DNA. Like what is that? You know, like is that a human? No, he says a human is anything with the same transcendental limitations as us. So aesthetics, as in like how things look. Right? Do you guys know what aesthetics means? Aesthetic means like how things look, right? So the limit on how we can view things. Basically, he says a human is anything with the same set of these transcendental aesthetics as us. So like, you might be thinking like a blind person. What about a blind person? Is that a human? Well, yes, because the only things he says are transcendental aesthetics are space and time, as well as reasoning, our mental capacity for thinking. That's the only three things he calls the transcendental aesthetics. It's like even if you're blind, you can't imagine a world without space and time. You know, like that's just not possible. So he says every single human is the same. We're all equal subjects because we have the same transcendental aesthetics, right? So we receive the same inputs. Think of a human as a computer, right? We receive the same inputs, right? And then we have the same processes of thinking as well. And so our output should be the same, right? That's what he argues. What's up, Richie? So, if every single human is an equal subject with the same transcendental aesthetics and the same processing power, then if we input the problem of ethics, shouldn't every single human come, if they are not, shouldn't every single human come to this one conclusion? Just one conclusion. And he says yes, and that conclusion is called the categorical imperative. What we need to do in all cases. That's what a categorical imperative means. Can anybody recite the categorical imperative? Like 3 marks. Okay, no, nobody? Okay. He says, do as you can, do something that you can, and you would rather it at the same time be a universal law. So you would only do the things in which you would like that thing to be able to be done universally. You guys get it? Do as you can, and at the same time will it to be a universal law. And then what this means is how do we apply this? You know, applying this in every case is kind of difficult, isn't it? So he says we should just take an action, strip down the action to just its motivation, right? And then we plug the motivation into this categorical imperative, and then that's how we determine whether an action is good or not. So when we're talking about deontology, we're talking about Kant, we argue every single thing back to this categorical imperative. He says every single ethical problem can be solved with this one function. Right. Now, do you guys remember how this sort of comes about? It's because, you know, we all have the same limitations. We all have the same limitations, transcendental aesthetics. And so we have the same processing power. So if you give us the same problem, we're going to come to the same agreement. And it's going to be universal. Every single human being is going to universally come to the same agreement, which makes this objective. Objective. Indisputable. That's what he says. That's how the categorical imperative comes about. Let's do an example. Does anybody have an example argument that we can apply this to?
Let's say I murder someone, but it's like revenge because they murdered my friend.
Oh, revenge. Okay. So let's take the motivation of killing someone, let's say with a gun, right? And the motivation would be killing someone for revenge, right? If we were to allow that universally, would you guys all agree to allow murder for revenge? Do we allow murder at all? Here's where we can take in parts of other theories, like Locke, right? Do we allow murder at all? No, right? And so, why not? Because like even utilitarians wouldn't think that murder is it does not create the best outcome. You know? Like, if we're talking utilitarian, right? If you kill someone, the potential happiness that they could have is way greater than the happiness that it causes you. And so you can't kill someone out of revenge. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyways, so if there's something that you can make into a universal law and you would agree to act by it, then it would be morally right. Basically. Like how we say whether or not we want the universal law is however you want, I guess. But he's just saying we need universal laws. If it's not a universal law, it's immoral.
Wait, is it the same as the categorical moral imperative?
Huh?
Is it the same thing as the categorical moral imperative?
Yeah, it's called the categorical imperative.
I missed the word out.
It's not called the categorical moral imperative. It's just called categorical imperative. Anyways, he is like S tier, bro. You can't have, it's Kant. You always gotta go Kant. Whenever you say his name, like they just go, oh! Like, if you guys remember last year, like every single team was just, oh, by the Kantian tradition, by the Kantian tradition. Like, shut the fuck up. And then they always win, bro. They always win. So like, we gotta have him in there somewhere, bro. They did not know anything except for Kant. So if there's one thing you guys need to know, it's him. Okay, just know the last part actually. Just like motivation. Judge motivations. Judge motivations, and then see whether or not you would like this motivation to be a universal law. If you would like it, great. Moral. That's how it is. Okay. Yo, we got some time. Let's talk about maybe other branches.
Simon de Beauvoir.
Yeah. I was gonna talk about Aristotle, I think. Nah, not about views as well. He doesn't have that many arguments. Aristotle, like, I was gonna talk about him, but he takes forever, and he was mostly wrong. Okay, he was mostly wrong because he uses something called semantic logic. So semantic logic is basically logic with words. It's what we do in debating. It's what we do in essay writing, right? We're arguing logic with using words, not math. Not using math. And there is this big problem in semantic logic that's fundamental. And it's that everybody, if you guys think about like arguing with words, we need to agree on what the words mean, basically. And if we wanted to, we can go infinitely in depth to defining that word. Like, let's say a dog is blue. What shade of blue? What is blue? You know, like, what is a dog? Exactly. We can define it infinitely. We can force the other person to define it infinitely. And that's, I guess it's a debating strategy as well, to just ask them to like define this. But like the thing is, semantic logic has its limitations in that we need to be agreeing on something. Right? And so that's why a lot of philosophy has switched to using, you know, mathematical logic. So like now in university textbooks you would see shit like this. And then like X into something, which evolves down into f of x is equal to, it's basically, it comes from philosophy basically. Mathematical logic comes from philosophy. And, huh? What do you mean? Listen, have you guys not seen this notation? That's like a function, no? Anyways, what am I talking about again? Oh yeah, right.
Aristotle, right? Aristotle.
Semantic logic.
Semantic logic.
Yeah. Semantic logic. Anyways, that's the reason why Kant was so, Kant wanted to prove what a human was so much. Because Kant went like, okay, what's a human? He went through that loophole, you know? He went like, okay, define this. And he couldn't define it. And he's like, oh, okay, well, a human is whatever, has the same transcendental aesthetics as us. We can't define that any further. That's why, yeah, semantic logic is what drives him to make his Deontology. And yeah, the transcendental aesthetic is also what sparks the movement of Cubism. Like, you know, the artistic movement of Cubism? Because they're like, oh, okay, what if I take this object and I could see everything? And that's how Braque and Picasso started like painting these like cubic identities. Yeah, anyways, that's not important. Thank you guys for coming. The next few lessons will not be this fast. Okay, the next few lessons we're going to look in depth into each of these. This is the syllabus for this year, Chad. This is the syllabus.
You're either be intellectual or professional.